Welcome to Legal Intelligence, powered by Ivionics, offering practical insights and innovative digital solutions. Let's dive right in.
Heard you do jiu-jitsu, so I have a question for you.
Sure.
Gi or no gi?
No gi. I haven't trained in the gi. It's so embarrassing. I don't think I trained in the gi since I was probably the first month of like my blue belt.
Nice.
Yeah,
Okay.
I've
All
been
right.
no
So,
gi. I started jujitsu with no gi with the intention of only doing no gi, and I kind of stuck with that forever. Plus, my whole game is like so no gi centered that I'm embarrassingly bad in the gi. Like,
I've heard. Yep.
like
I've heard stories, and
yeah,
vice versa too. People who do just gi and then
yeah.
just their no gi game
You could
is
definitely
yeah.
feel it. Like you feel right away they want those like collar grips and
Yep. All
stuff
the
that don't
grips. Yep.
exist. But
Yep.
then when you watch me in a gi, I'm like I'm taking underhooks and stuff, but I like people grab my sleeve and I don't know what to do. And I'm
Right.
like, "Oh man, I've been training for so long. This is so embarrassing." So like, yeah, no gi for sure.
All right. Well, Giuseppe, thanks for coming on board today. Legal assistant.
Mhm.
Tell me a little bit about that.
So, kind of adjacent to a paralegal. I don't say paralegal because I technically didn't take the course to be a paralegal. But I've been around law for a very long time. My dad's an attorney. I worked with him for years when I was younger. Took a break, tried to do different stuff, and then I am back for a couple of years now, doing paralegal work. But legal assistant's probably more accurate, just because I don't technically hold the title of a paralegal, but I do a lot of paralegal work.
Gotcha. So, what do you have to do to become a paralegal? Like, what's that step then?
It's basically a course. Like it's not so
Okay.
much a degree, but more like a certification where
Gotcha.
they put you through kind of like different tests and stuff to help you understand legal documents. And I probably would have benefited me a lot. I probably should have done that just to get myself set up for this. I kind of went the longer route and just did a trial by error thing. I'm sure there's still stuff that I could learn that,
I
but
feel like a lot of people. That's the way you just gotta
yeah.
put your feet in and just go.
Yeah, but yeah, legal assistant or legal clerk, whatever. That all I've been called all of those things. So
Gotcha.
kind of that's kind of my title. Yeah.
Okay. How do you like it so far?
I like it. It's got its days where it's like unbelievably stressful, and there's a lot of it's a lot of tedious work. A lot of paper, a lot of sitting down and writing, marking up documents. A lot of what I do really is based on templates. So in legal work, the way we operate is when we have a document to write, usually the document already exists under a different name. And then what you'll do is you'll pull and plug stuff to fit, but the documents don't always change. Like, an affidavit for something is usually the way it's written is the way it is. And then you would just pull in the names and switch them. So it's a lot of that, but that can get tedious, even though it's not entirely so hard all the time. So yeah, just recognizing the different things that have to be done and the different paperwork that has to be done is more or less the job.
And I'm sure there's timelines
So
involved too, so it
right,
could be
yeah.
very stressful.
Recently my biggest thing has been discoveries, like doing discoveries, and that's some of the most horrible. Like I hate it, but it's so tedious. It's so many documents. You have to hunt clients down to get information from them to produce to the other side. If they lie to you, which some of them do, they don't understand how bad the consequences for that can be. And then, you have to go to them and say, look, I need everything. Like I know it sounds like a bad idea to give the other side all this information, but you have to by law, so let's just do it. So
Right. Now you mentioned something pretty interesting. You said sometimes they lie to you. How do you know they're lying? Have you caught people like lying? Like
it's
what was some of your
so at this point now, I've gotten to the point where in the initial call that I make to them or the initial time I reach out to them, I say to them, look, you have to disclose all this stuff or we can get in a lot of trouble and you can lose the case. So I start with that off the bat because in the past, sometimes what we want really is bank statements the law that we practice is mostly family law. There's a lot of other stuff, but generally speaking, it's mostly family. So it's a lot of divorces. So when the other side is looking for things from their ex, they're looking for bank statements, things they own, safe deposit boxes that they may not know about, e-data, things like that you would save that maybe you were either hiding from your spouse or they just didn't know about it. It wasn't ever brought up. Those things have to come out in court. They have to see that because they're going to have to figure out how to break up the finances. So
Right.
a lot of times people will say like, "Oh, okay, here's my bank statements," but then they tell you how much they make a year, and you're like, "This doesn't really add up." People
Exactly.
understand like the attorney-client privilege so much. Like you can tell your attorney pretty much anything like a therapist. They're bound by attorney-client privilege to not like tell on you. So, I understand people don't want to disclose certain information because like a lawyer at the end of the day isn't your family, like but you kind of have to tell them everything. So,
Right. Right. Because if they're
mhm.
better informed, then they can better
Right, exactly. And we're not
represent you.
here to put you in jail. We're here to actually you a lot of times keep you out of jail. So you probably want to be more honest with us than you would anyone else.
Right.
You know.
Yeah. Um. Are you ever gonna? Were you ever thinking about making that jump to become a lawyer?
Yeah, I'm in the process now of doing
Oh, you
that.
are. Okay.
Yeah, yeah. So I'm finishing my bachelor's this semester. I took some time off school a couple like a year or two ago. In the middle of doing my bachelor's, then went back. I'm finishing it this semester, and then taking the LSAT, and then applying to law school. So hopefully, in the next 4 years, I'll be an attorney
Nice. Okay.
if all goes to plan.
And would that be the same type, like family for it,
Yeah,
or
I think
yeah?
so. I think it'd probably be family. I like other aspects of law, but I think family is a good stepping stone into law. It's kind of straightforward. Criminal law can get a little crazy, and then contract law and stuff just seems very boring.
I feel like family
Yeah.
law can get crazy too.
Oh yeah, yeah, it definitely can. But it's a different kind of crazy. It's
Sure.
this probably isn't the best thing to say, but it's like a more entertaining kind of crazy.
Okay. I can see, no, I can see that. Listen, there's going to be a lot of drama, I'm sure.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, you couldn't imagine.
So you are in an interesting spot to me
Mhm.
because there are attorneys and lawyers who've been around for a while, who are kind of set in their old ways of probably using paper and notebooks and paper and documents like that. Not so much kind of using technology. Then there are the kind of, I want to say, like middle ground where they're a little bit younger lawyers who have been kind of incorporating technology and things like that, so they're kind of learning how to do it. And then you, who's kind of fresh into law firms, really hasn't experienced like the old school type of way so
Mhm.
much, and you're kind of just getting into the technology part. So it's pretty interesting, um, where you're entering in. So I'm just curious, like technology wise, what like technologies have you been using in your law firms? Is there anything like
So, actually, the lawyer that I work with is an old school kind of guy. So we're pretty like basic on the technology aspect of it. We do a lot of old school stuff, meaning we have a lot of hard files, a lot of paper we use, a lot of
right?
copies. He's not a big fan of like we have e-files, but he likes paper in hand. He finds it more secure. So what we do basically is we have the normal stuff. We have Adobe. We use Word to write up documents. We don't use AI pretty much at all. We have for like I have for certain things, but it's strongly discouraged
Right.
just because of bad experiences that he's seen other lawyers have in court where they've gotten called out for pulling case law from say ChatGPT, and then they give you a case that doesn't exist or the wrong case that isn't applicable to the case you're working on. So a lot of lawyers have actually ran into problems for using things like ChatGPT and AI engines to generate information for cases they're working on. It's super frowned upon by judges, especially if you're using the wrong case law. But
Right.
to get caught using, I guess, AI to take a shortcut to actually looking up and pulling case law, especially if you're using the wrong one, like I said, that's really bad.
Law firm you work for, the partner or whatever, he's kind of the old school type of way,
Right.
and that's fine. But you yourself, do you feel like maybe there is room for the technology? Like because you're a younger guy now. Do
Yeah.
you, do you think that maybe
Yeah.
technology can
So
help?
what I always think, and what I'm always thinking about when I'm working, I'm always like, wow, there's got to be a quicker way to do this. There's got to be a quicker way to pull up this information. And what I think the problem lies, or what scares me and what scares a lot of people, I think, is that we've all run into an issue. I don't know. I shouldn't say we all, but I've run into many times where I'm looking on ChatGPT for information, and then I go to verify the information and it's incorrect, or I go to verify the information and it's not exactly what I was looking for. And I think that stems from the fact that again, if I'm wrong, correct me, but I think AI engines are only capable of giving you information as early and as far as they're updated. So meaning like if I need law is dynamic, it changes. So, for example, like Roe v. Wade was a federal thing a couple of years ago. It was reversed. Now it's state by state again. For that, I'm using this as an example. I don't have experience with this specific thing,
Right,
but
right.
if I were to use a non-updated engine for AI and I wanted to pull cases on Roe v. Wade, or even just what Roe v. Wade is or how it looks in law, it might tell me the old version of it. It might tell me it's a federal law. It might tell me that it blankets the entire United States, when in reality now it is state by state because it's been changed. So I think our fear is we don't have the intelligence, or I shouldn't say the intelligence, but the knowledge of AI to understand what engine is up to date, what engine is going to give me what I need, what engine actually can pull information from the sources I need it from, instead of just a whole pool of internet information that could be wrong.
Right, right.
So,
And I think that's one of the cases you made before was you were just like, if you're going up in front of the judge or something like that, and you have
right.
the wrong information, you're frowned upon to something like that. So I think, and I think you're right. I think depending on the engine you use, they might be a few years back, behind, and it might not be current.
Right.
So you know, like you said, you're gonna have to definitely do your research, and then maybe get the general information, and then from there. Um, do your own research,
Right.
and
Yes.
confirm it. So I think that's the important part. Um, what's interesting to me though is, well, here's another thing. So that's one way of using that AI, right?
Hmm.
What about another way? Because you mentioned a little bit before doing your e-discoveries and doing everything else. You were saying a lot of that stuff becomes very tedious. Um, so what if you had AI to help you in that aspect? Like what if you were doing the same thing over and over again, and you were able to have AI just kind of help you with those tasks? So maybe not so much researching, you know,
Hmm.
case laws and things like that, but actually just helping you with your day to day work in that way.
Yeah, that's definitely helpful, and I've seen people actually use AI in the sense where they like I said, there's a lot of template work. So
Right.
let's say, for example, I need like an affidavit of service that we would use in New York State because I think it changes state by state. So you could put in to an AI engine, can you generate me an affidavit of service based on New York State criteria, a template, so that I can just fill in names and the case. And that I think is beneficial because if you don't already have a million templates, or you don't have them saved in a way that lets you find them with ease, because a lot of times when we save something, we don't all save it exactly the same. Law is hectic. We're in a rush. I work different than the person next to me. We have a general practice in the way we do things, but little details change. How I save a document might not be the same way he does or
Right.
she does. So I would have to go look for it the way that they would look for it, or go through physically everything until I find the template I need. If I could go into an engine and say, give me this with blank names and a blank case, and I could just plug and pull stuff that I have to put in there, that would be highly beneficial. That would save probably like a half hour of time, which is a lot.
And compile that throughout your entire day, weeks.
Right, right.
That time adds up. That you can get back for other stuff. Yeah.
So I think AI in that sense has been very beneficial. I think that like being able to, if they have, or if they're updated to the point that they can give you a correct document to use as a template, I think that would be highly beneficial.
Right.
You know.
Yeah. So I think, I mean, me personally, I think it's great to use AI. I don't think you should use it as a tool to replace, like you said, like, oh, I'm just going to look up this case law,
Hmm.
not do any research on my own, and just things like that. But I think if you use it as an assistant, I think that's a great case. Like, hey, help me with these,
Right.
like you said, those templates, or hey, give me some ideas on different case laws, and then let me go and research it. Pretty much like an assistant.
Yeah, this is something that I've been like thinking about a lot too, because now like I'm in college still. So a lot of professors at the initial point of a class starting, they're so hell bent, or so quick to their first thing on the syllabus now is like no AI, not an ounce of AI is allowed in this class. I will use AI checkers, blah 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 blah. And I'm okay with that. I think that makes sense, right? You shouldn't be using AI to supplement your own thoughts. You shouldn't be submitting a paper that ChatGPT wrote for you. But I think what might be beneficial, and what people should start doing, and professors in particular should start doing, is gearing toward um, incentivizing people, if they're going to use AI, teach them how to use it as an outliner, as something to give you the idea so that you can write your original paper, something that can structure maybe the thoughts that you don't know how to structure. because I've used it very successfully that way. And I don't think that that's something that should be frowned upon, right? Because let's face it, everybody who's in college is not majoring in writing. They're majoring in whatever they're majoring in, and writing happens to be an aspect of what they do. They have to write about what they do, but they might not be specialized in formulating an articulate paper. They're probably better off using an engine that's intelligent, that can structure a paper for them, and then they can lay out their thoughts, but their thoughts come from them. The structure comes from the engine.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. No, I agree 100% because AI is not going anywhere, right? Anywhere, not anytime soon.
Oh, definitely not.
So I think, telling people you can't use it, don't use it, absolutely not. I think that discouraging people from it is not the answer. So I think you're right in the aspect of, hey, let me show you what's accepted in the class. You can use AI, but I don't want you to just,
right,
just have
right.
the AI write it. Again, make it more of an assistant, and here's how you use it. And I think, and again, I think maybe older professors or people who are set in their ways maybe don't want to, have that AI implemented. But I think you made a good point. Have the professor show you, this is the way I would accept you to use your AI, use it as a tool.
Yeah, I think it comes from two places. I think that it comes from, one, a little bit of a selfish place because they feel a little bit slighted that they didn't have that advantage when they were going through all their studies. But I also think it comes from a good place in that I could be wrong about this, but I don't know that we have the intelligence or the software right now that can detect if something was written entirely by AI and then edited to look like human writing, or if something was structured by AI but completely original, which I get because that can be scary from the perspective of a professor. Like, I'm grading a paper, I don't really know if they came up with this paper or if they just took it from an engine and then added and subtracted little things to make it look original, or did they use the structure that the engine gave them, and then maybe they wrote an original paper and just used the paragraph and essay structure that was given by AI, which I think would be acceptable. But again, how do you differentiate between the two? How do you know, right?
No, that's a good question. So here's a question for you then. If I'm just thinking like in my high school days and my, I had to do book reports, or junior high, whatever, and you had to do a book report. I would get a book out of the library and I would, turn to whatever topic I'm looking at and I'd read it and pretty much rewording what I was reading, right? My own thought, my own, So what is the difference between that and doing the same thing with AI? Like if I had AI write something and then I just reworded it, you don't have to, it's a rhetorical question, right? It's something to think about.
Well, I think it's a good question.
Right.
I think it's a good question, and I think the question is more like, as you get deeper into like your studies, as you get more advanced into something like a degree, right? I think the actual learning comes in, and the actual production of what you learned comes in with your ability to interpret information and then create an original thought, rather than like, so a paper would be, I read this book, here's what happened, here's kind of like what I think about it. Whereas, for example, like I'm a history major technically, right? So if I read a piece of history from a book, or an article, I would take the piece of history that I wrote, I would maybe paraphrase it a bit just to give the background of what I wrote. I would cite the source, and then I would give an original thought based on what, how I interpreted the information, or, what I believe is happening with the information that I read. So I think that would be the difference. Like,
I like that. Okay.
Summarizing what you read is different than interpreting what you read, if that makes sense.
Yep. Summarize. So let's say that again. Summarizing.
So summarizing information, right, would be like reading something and then paraphrasing it back to explain to you what was read. Interpreting the information would be reading something, explaining what it was, and then giving my interpretation of what I read. Like an example, I guess, I'll use jiu-jitsu, right? So I see a technique. I can drill the technique. I can copy an armbar and do it exactly like the instructor showed the armbar. But do I actually understand the information? Do I understand why the armbar works? Do I understand like isolating a joint? Or do I understand just what an armbar looks like when it's being shown without resistance?
Right.
I think that's kind of like the difference. Like, can I give it back to you? Can I now show someone else how to do it? Or can I only show them what you showed me? And then now if they ask me why, I kind of have to go back to you. I can't really tell them why.
Right.
I think that would be the difference.
I like that. That's actually, I like that. It's good.
Thanks.
Good example too.
Everything comes back to jiu-jitsu.
There you go. So everything goes back to jiu-jitsu, which is a science and an art in itself.
Right,
so
right,
that's,
right. It's problem solving.
yeah,
It's high level problem solving in real time is applicable in any aspect of your life. That's why I think it's so interesting.
100%. And just going back to the jiu-jitsu part, like even when you learn that armbar, your instructor teaches you one way. Here's how you do this armbar. But sometimes it always doesn't work on everybody because they weren't in the exact position
Right.
they were in, or body types are different, or whatever. And then you might have to adjust that armbar, or adjust some mechanics to make it work, and in different scenarios. So, and that goes with everything in
Right.
life. You might have like you said, I can summarize it, but can I interpret it real time? You know what? I might have to interpret this. And
Exactly. Yeah.
so-
I think that's where the big difference comes in. I think that's where people kind of lose like the essence of what learning is. Like learning is I need to learn, but then I need to be able to produce. I can't just knowing information is kind of like then you become AI. You become like an engine. Like
right.
I can just I can spit back
Or an NPC.
Yeah,
Like
right.
yeah.
So I think that's what we worry about in things like school or practicing law, right? Are people going to just become regurgitators of information that was already said, or are they going to interpret information and move forward with information? So I think that's what people get scared of.
That's interesting, because that's a good thought, because a lot of times, when I ask people about AI, a lot of times I'm like, what are you fearful of? Oh, I'm fearful of AI taking over the world and this
Right.
and that. That's usually the answer I get.
Right.
But your answer is actually pretty interesting. Fearful more of just people not giving their own thoughts and interpretations.
When
of
people
things.
ask me about my fear, because I'm actually not one of those people. I'm not scared of AI. I like AI. I think it's a good thing if we learn and use it the way it's intended, I think, to be used. I think people get scared of AI taking over the world because they don't like, and I don't mean this in a condescending way. I just don't think people really think about what learning is. Like, I think they kind of just hear the term learning, or they hear the term like work or research, and they don't understand that there's a third step, right? Like there's looking something up, reading about it. Then there's the third step where now you need to go with that information and create something else, or give your interpretation, or give your thoughts on said topic. You have to be able to give something original. And AI scares people because I think that they're worried that originality will become too simple. Like it's not too simple, actually. I not too simple. I mean, it'll become too easy. Like you'll get information so quickly, and then you'll have that information, and there's no reason to go any further because AI can always go further for you. You can say, give me this topic, blah, blah, blah. I'll read about it. Okay, elaborate. And then AI can continue to elaborate. And, I've done thought experiments with ChatGPT before because I am interested in this stuff. I'm just not super well versed in it.
Right.
But it is interesting to see how far down the rabbit hole you can go with an AI engine, because you can continue to ask questions about the same topic and ask it to elaborate, and it'll keep going. It doesn't eventually say to you, I have nothing left. It has an entire wealth of information from the internet. So
Right. I could have used AI when when my kids were younger. And they would always say, Daddy, why? And then I ask them why, and then I ask again why, and then I have to keep. It's kind of like the same thing. Just keep. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The difference is, though, you'll give your kids information. I assume you love your kids, right? So you'll only give your
Most
kids.
days.
Yeah. So you'll only give your kids information that you would think would benefit them. AI doesn't have the ability to kind of distinguish between information. It just spits out at you, as far as I know, what it pulls and what it has to give you, which is, I think, again, where the fear comes from. It's like, how do I vet this information?
Right. Like, so when my kids keep asking me why, I'm giving them answers that I feel like would be beneficial, or at least, for them.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to, I'm not going to, maybe they might not need to know the full reason why. I'm going to give you the reason why for a 6-year-old.
Exactly.
But
yeah.
AI is not going to differentiate that.
Right. Exactly. So I'll give you another thing that might be a little frightening is like now you see like iPad kids, right? They'll start to understand ChatGPT and how it works. They might not come to Dad anymore and say, Dad, why? Dad, why? They might go on the iPad and ask ChatGPT, why? You don't at that point have any say in the information that your child takes in. That's a scary thing to think about, right? Like till a certain age, you kind of want to vet the information your child gets. So I mean, that's another thing that can be scary about AI.
I don't know if this exists, but there should be a child
Good
AI,
point.
right?
I'm sure.
Like a
I'm sure it
child
does. Maybe it
focused.
does.
Yeah,
Yeah, I don't know if it does, but
Right.
I would imagine it
Age
does. Yeah.
appropriate, right?
Uh-huh.
Yeah,
So,
that's interesting.
and these are young kids. They're sponges, right? So, like, if they're starting out with the understanding and the impression that you can kind of ask AI anything and get an answer, does that set the tone for their life going forward? Oh no, like, from here till the end of time, people are going to just be relying on AI engines to come up with and formulate new ideas and regurgitate old information. So
Right.
that's a scary thought. And not to say AI is bad. I actually am not.
No.
Like I said, I'm a fan of AI. I
Right.
think the challenge is learning how to navigate it so that it doesn't become a hindrance to progress. It actually helps it and pushes it forward quicker.
Right.
Yeah.
So do you think AI can keep up with us?
In my understanding, don't we program it?
Yeah. Right.
So like, wouldn't the question be that, like, wouldn't it have to, like, does it have a choice, I guess, would be my question. Can an AI, and this is an actual question because I don't know the answer, can an AI engine get so intelligent that it's autonomous? Like, at what point do I no longer program it? It just learns new information. That's when it becomes a little like, okay, we've lost control. Like, what's happening?
Right. Yeah. No, I can see that. Yeah.
So, I mean, that would be my
So can
question
we
for
keep
you.
up with AI?
I don't think so. Not if that happens.
Right.
Yeah. No, I don't think if that happens, we can. But again, I don't know if that's possible. I mean, that would be a question I would ask somebody like you.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. I don't even know if I have the answer to that.
Yeah. Maybe Elon does. I don't know.
Yeah. And then that's the thing too, is always new AI, new technologies, new engines,
Right.
things like that.
Yeah, that's really interesting. See, I think that's where it starts to become very beneficial. Like, when we can facilitate AI specifically to what we need, then update it. But like you said, can we I'm sorry, you said, can we keep up with it, or can it keep up with us?
Right.
I think at that point we keep it keeping up with us because we continuously program what we need into there. And there would be people, I would imagine, that would be their job. Like, their job would be to update the engine with information that would be relevant to the topic that the person needs. And in that case, I think you would have a lot of AI engines, but at least you would have them so catered to what was being used for that it would then be a really good thing.
Right. Actually, probably get faster results that way.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, so for example, like, you couldn't ask that law catered AI how to make like a cake.
Right.
It shouldn't be able to do that. It should only be focused on law.
Right.
So
yeah. So there you go. So that kind of circles back to our answer. Can we keep up with AI, and AI can keep up with us? So
right.
Yeah. Very interesting. Awesome. Well, Giuseppe, thanks for joining us today.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, I appreciate it. This was a good.
This is a really good conversation. I feel like I got a lot out of it in the sense that I had a lot of questions about AI and a lot of concerns with AI. So I feel like voicing it to somebody whose job and whose basically the company is, there's a lot of AI, right? So
yeah.
I think you guys have a lot of knowledge that I am very curious about. So I think this was a good, productive conversation.
Yeah. It was great. And actually, you gave me a lot of information too, so that was good.
The armbar, right?
The armbar. Yeah, that's it. Awesome.
Right.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, thank you guys.
Thanks for tuning in to Legal Intelligence powered by Avionics, where we break down tech, innovation, and insights for the modern law firm. If you found value in today's episode, don't forget to like, subscribe, and leave a review. It really helps us reach more listeners like you. Until next time, stay secure, stay smart, and keep leading with innovation.